back to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My guest today, Tanya Smith-Shiflett, is the founder of Unique Kitchen and Baths, and she started as a second career as a kitchen and bath designer in her 50s after a career in medical sales. Pretty interesting, right? So she took a major risk, and when I say major, I mean big, life-altering big. But her risk was built on her skills, her network, and her absolute confidence in herself. In just 5 years, she has killed it in business. Tanya has collaborated with heavy-hitting luxury interior designers, including Lauren Lease, Zoe Feldman, and Sarah Schwab. And she has showrooms across the country now. It's clear that Tanya knows what it takes to excel in business. She has put her go-getter personality, her energetic spirit, and a set of smart business practices in place to grow her firm to new heights, and there is no end in sight. I think you're going to enjoy listening to Tanya and what she has to say about her design journey. Hi, Tanya. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. I'm so excited to get started.
Yeah, so you know what's funny, because Tanya, every once in a while I get someone that will send me information, and it includes that they had a career shift to interior design, could be in their 30s, 40s, 50s. And I just recently, you had a career shift full-time to interior design in your 50s. And I just recently talked with someone off air, just in real life conversation. And she was describing how she was concerned about making a career shift in her 50s. And of course, I started this podcast when I was 53. So I'm all about, like, go for it. 50 is like, 50 is a new 20, right? Because I'm going to be 60. So 60 is a new 40, Tanya.
Exactly.
So, but you did the same. And so talk to us a little bit about that career shift and what it entailed, and how did it come about?
So I worked for Pfizer for 21 years, and towards the end of my 21 years with them, Pfizer started going from name brand drugs to generic drugs. So the commission structure started to change, and I was just ready to retire. So I retired, and during that time of working with Pfizer, my husband's a builder, and I designed cabinetries on the weekend with him, and I would do all of his kitchen designs. So when it was time for me to retire, I told my husband that I wanted to open a design studio. And he was like, why don't you give yourself a breather, kind of like just get, I know you like doing kitchens and stuff, but let's think about this. And I knew that if I didn't do it right then and there, I probably would have retired and relaxed and then became too comfortable. So he went on a hunting trip. And when he went on to a hunting trip, I rented a commercial space. And when he returned from his trip, I gave him the keys, and he said, please tell me you did not do what I think you did. And I said, here's the keys to the shop, and you need to build a design studio. When we first started, we were open 6 months, and we went from a 300 square foot office space to a 3,500 square foot office design studio. And we've been here 6 years, and every year that we've been here, we have opened a location, and it was beyond my wildest dreams this would happen. I think that just working in the industry and my husband being a builder, we already had a lot of connections, which helped us a lot. We already had the architects and other builders and designers that we had worked with. So it just kind of flowed seamlessly, and it's been fantastic.
Wow. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to tell all of you right now, if I ever did anything like that while the Vincenz was away for a weekend, I'm not sure we'd be having this conversation. That's correct. you know,
It was crazy.
yeah, I mean, girl power and all that notwithstanding, there's not a chance. So the thing is that he was a builder. And not, I don't mean not just, because there's nothing just about cabinetry building, and certainly at the high end that you do it. But he was a full home builder at that point for his career. Is that what you were saying? I was kind
Yes,
of okay.
yeah, he was a build. Still is a builder.
Right.
He just builds cabinetry now. He was a builder for 25 years. So as far as like opening the design studio and stuff, that wasn't my fear. It was just the timing. It's scary at 50 to do all this, and it's a big investment. And I did use my retirement that I have saved to open this design studio, which was another, a little scary. But I could not recommend more if someone in their 50s. I mean, to be honest here, you wake up in your 50s and sometimes you wake up and you're like, oh my God, damn, I just got this. This is what life is all about.
Right.
And in your 40s, your 30s, you're raising kids. And in your 40s, you're just kind of like starting to play catch up. And then in your 50s, you're like, oh my gosh, if I would have knew, if I could have done this years ago.
Could have ruled the world, right?
Exactly. So he went from building custom homes to more focusing on custom cabinetry, which was great. So it was good for me because when I first started designing with him, I was kind of using stock cabinetry or semi-custom cabinetry to his availability. So when we opened our own shop, it was very important that all the things that happened throughout the years with using other vendors or, stock cabinetry lines, that when we started our full custom line, that the craftsmanship was there. And since he was a master carpenter, it just worked out seamlessly.
And so logistically, did he have 3 houses under construction that he had to finish while you're saying, okay, here I am, I'm specifying custom cabinets, you're making them? Or was he really winding down and ready to retire, and you shocked the crap out of him?
Actually, he was in the middle of 2 new builds at that time, and a flip we were doing. So once he winded those down, I was figuring out the logistics in-house. I had brought over a Russian designer who worked with me, and she was amazing, and we were getting her trained and set up, and then she went on to do stone and stuff. So like it was a learning process. We brought in a full-time architect. So while I was kind of figuring out the logistics of how this was all going to work, he was finishing up those projects. So when we finished those projects, it kind of just all fell hand in hand together.
And his career as a builder, who ran the business and the operations end of that business?
So when we created Unique Kitchens and Baths, he folded up the building company, and started just doing full-time cabinetry.
But like in day to day, was he the person that was out overseeing the builds of the home and coming home at night and doing his QuickBooks and placing his orders and doing his payroll? Or did you have?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, so he was like both sides of the business.
Yes.
Okay.
And now through all of this process, I mean, just speeding up a little bit, when COVID hit, rather than us, close down and stuff, we actually took his company and subbed a lot of the work out as he was slowing down. And then we started in our plant running shifts 24 hours a day because a lot of people were losing their jobs. So what we did was, now we have 3 shifts. We work Monday through Friday, and then we have a Saturday and Sunday shift. So he kind of took over that part of it. And then all his building stuff, he just subbed out to other builders.
Okay. So when you say you built out, went from 300 to 3,500 square feet, are you talking about the manufacturing portion of it, or the design and the facing portion where the clients come in to see the kitchen design and you work with them?
So that's actually that's the design studio. That's not the plant.
Okay.
So when we first started, the building was 3,500 square feet, and we just finished out a 300 square foot office in the front. And that's where our clients would meet us. And then we grew so quickly that we had to finish the rest of the entire space. And when I first started, I had one designer with me for the first 3 years, and it was just me and her. And then I brought in the architect and other design students that I had, and then we expanded, and now we have 10 designers. And we actually just signed the lease next door to us. So now we will have a 7,000 square foot design studio center and warehouse.
Wow. And since this is not where you're doing, this is not the plant, What is the advantage of growing another, doubling your size again? Is it displaying the cabinetry? Like, what is the point of that?
Yes, it is. Actually, in our design studio, we not only display our cabinetry, we have kitchens, we have bars. We actually have learned that taking our design studio and working with other interior designers, that we've made the design studio a work port for all of our ladies. So when you come in, our desks are made out of our fine cabinetry. We have the wallpaper that we sell, our lighting lines that we sell, countertops. So we've taken the design studio, and when you walk into it, which people can also see on our website, is it's like a house. You walk in here, you don't want to leave. It's cozy. We have a dining room and like a sitting area, and of course your office area, and then a full kitchen. So it's very inviting. And I think when you go into some cabinetry shops and other places out there, they seem like a little commercial and a little more stuffy, where you walk in and you have 30 doors on the walls and you have like all of these faucets, and it's so difficult to choose, that when they come in here, it just feels so cozy and home, like a home. So it's easier for them to make decisions, I feel like, and they want to live in the space that's here.
Okay.
It's a very different motto.
Okay. And so what happens is designers bring their clients to your design studio, and that's where they can sit and, visualize everything and see all
Correct.
the samples and work with you.
That's correct.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. And so now you have how many showrooms that you've opened across the U.S. at this point?
So we have one in Baltimore, we have two in Virginia, and we have one in Georgetown, D.C., and we are opening one in Soho, New York, and Nashville, Tennessee.
And I mean, is this just world domination, Tanya? Like I'm.
So no, when we first started, what happened was when we started doing the spaces, it's kind of cool because in our Baltimore office, it is in a business park. So it's a little bit different. When you walk in, you're like, oh my gosh, you can't believe that this is in a business park. But since Baltimore is our main hub and it's so large, it was easier to do that. But all of our other locations, like the one in Great Falls, Virginia, is in a little old vintage home. The one that's in Georgetown is an old vintage townhouse. The one in Nashville is the same thing. The one in Soho. So all of our locations are like old vintage homes or townhouses, so that when people walk in, they can, like I see the experience. They walk into a living room that has beautiful built-ins, yet it's still a design studio. They walk into the kitchen that functions, yet it's a design studio. So the people can experience this, and our concept is very different. It's a very living showroom, and the locations that we've chosen are great. We never thought we would open locations in different states, but the clientele and the demand was so high, and people want to see the cabinetry. So we do have clients in California or New Mexico, and if that's the case, we'll send them a door sample, we'll send them samples, and they're okay doing it virtually. But a lot of clients do want to see and touch things. So we opened showrooms like in the main hub area. So Baltimore is close to the airport. The DC is close to the airport. Soho is close to the airport and the bus station. So we chose locations that if people want to fly in, a lot of our California clients will fly to our hubs to see our showrooms. So we took that in consideration. Like, it can only be 10 minutes from the airport. We have to have transportation, a hotel that's nearby. All of these things were carefully thought out because we do ship all over the world. And we do have clientele everywhere. So I think the experience is easy, and that's why people like it so much. But the locations were not planned. It grew organically. And here's where we are today.
Crazy. It's crazy. It's intense is what it is. And this is all in just the last, 5 or 6 years?
Yes, it's been crazy.
So I'm going to ask you more questions about it, but the first question is your husband like super thrilled, or does he just keep smiling at you going, you're a lunatic, Tanya, but I'm on for the ride?
He says, are you going to slow down? You said this was going to be a small thing. Are you ever going to stop? And he's just learned that he just rolls with it. He just does it.
And is he your age or is he older?
He is 56.
Okay, so he's still young also. So it's like, stop your whining, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Just put your big boy pants on. We got this.
I mean, when you think about Vinny's 15 years older than me, and every time I keep doing something, he's legitimately going, seriously, Lou? So, but that's actually why I encouraged him. He was interested in it, but I was a big proponent of, yes, let's buy exciting windows, because I tell everybody, well, that's a great retirement business for him. He needs to be busy, so he's not just looking at me being busy.
Exactly. And I find that a lot of the coworkers that I had before that are retiring, and as crazy as the sounds, now that they're sitting at home and not doing a lot, like their health is just deteriorating. And, people say to me, when do you sleep? And I'm like, I sleep 5 hours a night. I don't need a lot of sleep. And they're like, how do you do it?
Yes.
But the more sleep you have, I feel like when you get older, the tireder you are, let's just keep going. Don't slow down.
Yes. I'm one that I really prefer 7 or 8. However, I'm super active all day long. So it's not like I can't even imagine. Well, that was our big come to Jesus conversation, Vin and I, when we were talking about exciting windows and previously to that, like really expanding the LuAnn Nigara Inc. platform and so forth. And, at one point, like he kept saying, well, time to retire, this and the other thing. And because all of his friends were retired. And I just finally just looked at him. I said, come on. Look in the mirror, dude. Like, you cannot be retired. And I just challenged him. I said, you know what? Do 2 days. Don't go to Window Works for 2 days. Don't, at that point we didn't own Exciting Windows. Don't log in and see what, resources there are to do and, read or this, that, and that. I said, just do nothing for 2 days. You come to me at the end of 2 days. Like, stop. Come on. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I got to use that.
Yeah, because it'd be different. There's a lot of people, by the way, who my uncle, he was a lot of my relatives, my one uncle, he was an avid golfer, an avid tennis player, I just would literally go to museums, love to travel the world. And my aunt and him would go on at least 4 major vacations a year, explorations, they actually called them because they weren't necessarily vacations. And when he wasn't traveling, he was golfing or playing tennis. And I just looked at him. I said, do you want to pick up tennis? He's like, no. I'm like, right, stop. Come on. Work is our hobby.
Exactly. I haven't taken a vacation in 6 years, and people are like, why haven't you taken a vacation? I just think the joy of seeing the business grow is like, that's more, I can go on vacation. But at the end of the day, it's just watching things grow, and all the new designers that I hire, some of them are young, and watching them blossom is like, that's so much more thrilling than just going to a beach.
And it's funny because I'm a big fan of, I haven't done a lot of it, but I'm leaning into it a little bit more. I'm a big fan of taking your time. Like I've taken, my goodness, if we're 3/4 through the year and there's, 40 weekends, I've probably not worked 30 of them, which is for
that's
me,
amazing.
Yeah, the last 10 years, like you can't go 30 weekends in the last 10 or 15 years that I didn't work. And I don't consider like checking my email and maybe writing an article for AD Pro. That's not necessarily work, right? I'm talking about deadline driven. You've got to get up, get your butt moving and do some work, right? And I'm enjoying it. Like I really am enjoying it, but a day or two and I'm like, okay, now what? Let's go, right? And it was funny is I'll get up in the morning, run all day long until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and then get tired. On Saturday and Sunday, went out at work at 4 o'clock. I'm like, I'm exhausted. And so now I go for a bike ride or I go for a walk on the beach or something because I'm like, no, sweetie, you are not exhausted. You are bored is what you are.
Oh, no, that's probably true. I don't think about it. And my husband sometimes on the weekends will be like, why don't you sleep in today? I do find I'm exhausted. Like, I don't want to do this. I have to keep moving.
Yes, yeah. So okay. So we, it's, I think the biggest thing about this little section of the conversation about your pace and whether you retire or don't retire is you do have to do you just like in everything else. And so, there's a big movement now, self-care and taking time to breathe and relax and all that thing. I'm all for it. But at 60 years old, you are not going to tell me I don't know me. And what I know is that there needs to be a more balance, more, proportion to activity than inactivity. That's my personal, how I am. And that's
agree.
How I'm happy, right? And so if somebody else at 50 or 40 is happier with, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and Monday off every week, more power to you. I'm not advocating anybody work the hours that it sounds like you or I work, right? Okay. You have to be politically correct now, Tanya. I'm just putting it in there.
Oh, I got it. Work-life balance.
That's it. All four. Okay. But I am so intrigued about what you have built. This is insane. So now talk to me about these different locations. What is the logistics of that? Like, do you have a project manager in each location, a showroom manager in each location? Are they by appointment only? Like, are these full-fledged satellite offices with at least a couple of team members that you are managing and paying payroll to and all of the things?
Yes. So how we did, like the Great Falls showroom that first opened, that was a Lauren Lease UKB showroom. And Lauren Lease and I both staffed the girls in that shop. So it worked out great. The right side of it is a UKB showroom. The left side of it was a Lauren Lease, like little design studio kind of gift shop. We have since transitioned, because Lauren's very busy right now, that we still have the UKB side, and then we opened a shop right next door to that is just a UKB shop with her showroom still there. And we have little things in there. We do have a full-time designer there. We have a shop girl that actually sells candles and little hand towels and little kitchen stuff, little mixers and little all kinds of kitchen bowls and things like that. And then in our DC location, we share that showroom with another designer, Sarah Swab of Story Collectives. And I actually sublease the space to her. And there's a UKB design studio. And then she subleases and uses part of the shop for her own design studio and her clients. Wow. The one in Soho in New York will be the same way. I will either own the building or rent the space, is how we're doing it now. And then I sublease certain portions of it to designers that work in-house. So there's someone always there at the design studios to man it, whether it be the designer that's renting space from us or our full-time employees.
Wow, that's incredible. And so this business model of collaborating with these well-known luxury designers like Lauren and Sarah, how does that come? Did that come from a personal relationship with them? Or, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you just said, I just called Lauren and said, hi, I'm a kick-ass businesswoman, want to do something with me. Like, you just can't even
that's exactly what happened.
Oh my God, I can't even stand it.
So Lauren was actually, I didn't even know who Lauren Lease was. Her and I always laugh about this story. I had watched the show Best House on the Block, and I actually read her book, but didn't really pay attention to she was someone close or anything like that. So when I was going through Instagram, I saw this beautiful kitchen. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I reached out to her on Instagram, and she's like, you're serious? You want to build cabinets with me? They were on their way to the beach, and she called me and she's like, I have been looking for a cabinet maker for years. And I'm like, I don't know a lot about you. I saw you on TV, but your show got canceled. I don't know what's going on. And she's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Through that, her and I have became very good friends. We've done, a few flips together. She does all her cabinetry with us. It was an amazing collaboration. And then for Zoe Feldman, who is a doll, she has a showroom in DC. She's a great designer. We've done a couple projects together. And then, of course, Story Collectives of Sarah Swab. So all the designers I had worked with over time, but the first one initially starting with Lauren, no, I didn't know anything about her. I had 10 Instagram followers, knew nothing about Instagram. And she's like, you have to get yourself on an Instagram platform. And I'm like, I'm not Instagramming. I'm not doing Facebook. This is all just crazy. And now 99% of my clients are from Instagram.
Okay. I have to tell you guys, I really had no idea the answer to that question. I cannot fathom that that's exactly what you did. But yes. Like I said, it doesn't surprise me one bit. This is exactly the personality type. It's like, I see something, I can visualize it. I why not me? Like my mom always said, if not you, who, right? Just try. Unreal. And I can't even imagine saying to somebody like Lauren Lease, I don't really know a lot about you. Are you popular?
Yeah, she laughed. She's like, are you kidding me? You don't know who I am? And I'm like, no, I don't know who you are. But that just made it so organic when we were creating. And then Emily Henderson was doing her farmhouse. And this is a funny story. So I was scrolling through Instagram and I said, wait a minute, there's a chance she might not have a cabinet maker. And I reached out to her and said, I know, Emily, you don't know me, but I make cabinetry. And she's like, oh, we're thinking about working with another cabinet company. I was like, no. You have to let me do your house. And she's like, okay. And we just finished her house, and it's gorgeous, and it's going to be beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So here's the thing. you can't just reach out to high profile designers like this if you don't have the chops to do the project. So
Correct.
one of the things that you knew was you had complete and utter faith in your husband, his abilities as a master carpenter, and obviously his abilities to oversee the construction and design. You just oversee the design, but him to oversee the fabrication of high, right? I'm like, this is
Exactly.
yeah, you
Yep.
can't just be like, I think I can pull this off, right? So that's the whole thing with people that go for what they want. There is that whole aspect of having the courage and having the confidence and having the faith in yourself, but it has to be rooted in because you actually know you can deliver. It can't just be, I can say the words, right, Tanya?
Yes.
Okay. So now, in the weeds a little bit. And I will preface it by saying, when Shay McGee was on the show several years ago, I remember her describing to me how she built her brand and got well known. And she specifically said that there were times when there was a budget for a project, for example, and maybe the budget was I don't know, $50,000 when she started. She was, young and getting started. But she knew that a particular sofa would be the piece for the room. It would be the conversation piece. It would be the piece in the photography that would set it apart from, every other picture on Instagram of a living room. And even if that sofa, say, ate up $10,000 or $12,000 of the budget, she would do it and make no markup or little markup. And of course, the interview's 4.5 years ago, so I'm paraphrasing. Don't like LuAnn said, Shay did this. Go listen to the episode and hear exactly what Shay said. But it's along these lines, right? Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking, to me, it was marketing money. And obviously to Shay, it was as well. She described that it was important because it would elevate the project. And I don't remember whether she said it to the client, didn't say it to the client, but there were times that she and Sid made a business decision to finagle with the budget, never to overdo the client's budget, but so that it was continuing to build her brand. So along those lines, is this like when you reached out to Emily Henderson? Are you like, no, I'm going to do it and we're going to cut a deal? Or is it, no, we're going to do it and then you go ahead? You know what I'm saying? How did you create the collaborations? Did you give a little to get a lot? Or was it, no, well, the cabinets cost something and that's what it was?
So normally how we do it, like the first time that we did with LuAnn, we did LuAnn Ford's house. Oh. We'll use that as a prime example. And she reached out to me, and her and Lauren and I were, pretty good friends. So we did her house in California, and I'm just using this as an example, but she's like, I'm not moving. This is my forever home. And I'm like, okay, LuAnn. So we did the cabinetry at cost. 3 months later, she said, I'm moving back to Pennsylvania. COVID hit. I want to be with my family. Did the kitchen again. So normally when it's clients like this that can offer something for our business, we do the cabinetry at cost when we don't make any profit on them. Whatever they cost to build, that's what we sell them to them for. So just being paid for the labor and the material to build these cabinets. And from there, they do the PR of it. They talk about it. They get it published. So it's building my brand and
it's
using
marketing.
Exactly. It is. And we have a marketing budget, and our marketing budget is done a little differently. My husband and I made it a pact to never give anything away for free, because when you start doing that, then everyone will reach out to you and say, hey, can I have it for free? So we felt like a fair way is just pay us for the material and the labor to build them. We don't have to make any money on them. We figure if you're going to do the marketing on it, as far as, talking about us and our cabinetry, then that's going to be our profit on the cabinetry. So it works great.
Yeah, you know what? I thank you. I didn't prep you with the question. Thank you for being honest. And I think it's important because the truth is it's a business model we all understand. Every single interior designer that has ever done a show house understands this exact business model, right? Nobody pays you to do a show house, and maybe you get some services and goods in kind, but you're definitely at the very minimum spending many, many hours of your labor to put that show house together and to design it and source it and everything. And often as a designer, you are contributing some of your own funds for some of the items and things that you cannot get donated by different vendors or trades. And so I'm just, I'm actually just grateful that you were honest about it, because it is a legitimate business model. You're not going to do it for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. What it is it's truly marketing and the relationship, if it's there. And here's the thing. I know that if you had done this with one particular superstar and they didn't keep their agreement, you wouldn't do it for that superstar when they move to a different location again. You'd be like, sweetie, you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. Sorry. Right?
That's correct.
Exactly. So but the thing is, it is often in these situations. You know what it reminds me of also, Tanya, is how often do we see, when we see a project featured in Elle Decor or AD or any of the really super high-end magazines, not all the time, but sometimes they are the designer's own home. And there's a very good reason for that. This is the place where they can design actually to their heart's content, to the top, and the showcase the best of their abilities. Well, that's really no different than doing it for someone else. Now, granted, you get to live in it, but you're doing it for the marketing. You're doing it for the photography. You're doing it so that it will create other business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So awesome. And so, so this, and then it's genius to take it the step further to do the collaborated space where they sublease the space from you. And it sounded like that when they have this subleased space from you. So in the particular case of LuAnn, who's got it, she's the one in Georgetown that has the subleased space, or Great Falls?
No, that's Sarah Swab.
Okay. So when they have the subleased space from you, what is there in it? What's in it for them? Are they using it as their studio for all their full service design projects, or are they doing a licensed line with you where they're designing cabinetry and that's where they show that? What's their why for subleasing the space?
So when we find the space, we do the build out. We design the space with their cabinetry collection, and then they run their design from out of there. So we provide all the cabinetry. They don't pay for any of that, and they sublease the space from us. So when they run their design from out of it, it's basically a showroom that's fit for their line, and therefore every kitchen or any type of cabinetry they sell out of there, of course, comes through our location, but they're allowed to work out of there and create for their clients.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, so there is that connection that when you collaborate with a well-known designer, they are also creating a signature cabinet line that has their name on it.
That's correct.
Okay, and then their space is outfitted with that, is what you just said, but that's where they do their floor plans and their drawings and their sourcing for all their projects. It becomes their studio. Okay.
That's correct.
Now, so Sarah has got her cabinetry line in the Georgetown place, and you've got, so how does this work? So you wouldn't outfit your half with her cabinetry line because that would be, duplicate stuff. So, but what if XYZ designer Sally Smith, who also does business in the Georgetown area, comes into UKB and wants to have you do their kitchen for their design project, but they kind of like Sarah's line. Can you just go into Sarah's studio and say, here's the line we built for Sarah? Or is there, I know I'm in the weeds. I get into, my husband says to me, why do you need to know these things?
No,
I'm just always like to picture the flow of the business,
No, it's a great question. So we actually have a full-time designer in each of our locations, but not to step on any toes, how we do it is if a client walks in and they're like, I'm here to see the Sarah Swab collection, then it's face forward. If they come in, for example, because Zoe has a design studio across the street and they're like, I want to see the Zoe collection. The Zoe collection doors are there available at the job site, at the showroom, and we have a full-time kitchen designer there. So if that person walks in and they want to see Zoe's or LuAnn's collection, all of our showrooms have everyone's blocks and stains in it, so they're available at every showroom. But because the main hub, for example, like Sarah's or LuAnn's showroom, we don't step on their toes because that is their showroom. But if the customer walks in, we pre-schedule our appointments. If they say, I want to see Zoe's collection, when they come in, then our in-house designer that is at that location will represent Zoe Feldman's line at that moment or LuAnn Leese's line at that moment. So every location hubs all of the styles. It's just that the main front and center would be like Sarah Swab or LuAnn Leese or Zoe Feldman. Love it. You are brilliant. Did you come up with this business model? Or was this long drives with your husband and you both collaborated on it? Or this is insane. Oh, so I actually came up with this over the years of working with my husband, because when my husband would do a house and was a designer was involved in it, sometimes when he would do a large home, there was a different kitchen designer than the living room designer, and all of a sudden there would be 5 different designers, and he's like, "Oh my God, this is absolutely insane." And I said, "There's got to be a way." When I started my shop here, I worked with builders and architects, and my husband said, "If you go into the design world and you start giving these designers collections, you're going to lose your builders and architects." And I'm like, "But
Mm.
why?" And he said, because designers are needy, they're picky. It's not a go in, let's put some cabinets in and get done with the house. And I said, I'm going to do it anyway. And sure enough, when I did that, I lost all my builders. But it only took a little bit of time to make them realize that the concept still works. And though I work with a builder, I do try and influence the builder or any homeowner to find a designer first before you start the process. Architects are amazing, and so are builders, but they're building a box.
Yeah.
In order for this box to function, whether it be from the exterior brick to the inside cabinetry, you need a designer. So I have actually not only built a brand, I have built relationships with clients and other builders saying, look, I have 3 amazing designers here that I work with that are name brand designers, from TV shows to having their own line. Work with these ladies. Let's do this all together. And from there, it's just blossomed to this beautiful business that it's great to work with one another.
Wow. So that's, first of all, I do want to ask a little bit about that, the kitchen designer on the job, and then the furnishings designer, or whatever, interior designer, I guess you call the other. I don't know. That's crazy, right? All of a sudden, 6 years, I'm not sure what your calls, right? Interior designer, duh. Okay. But before that, so are we saying that at this point, because if you're able to say to somebody who walks in without a designer, whether it's the builder, the architect, or the client, I want to recommend Laura or Sarah or Zoe. These are not your garden variety designers. These are not your entry level, your mid-level designers. So is it just simply that at this point, your brand is literally only attracting people who that is their level designer and that's their budget level designer anyway, or what are we doing in there?
So if we have clients that come in for just a kitchen, then that becomes a UKB kitchen, and we design it in-house. And all of our designers are licensed interior designers that went to school for interior design. That's what their degree is in. So that would be an in-house designer. But we only do kitchens and bathrooms and, mudrooms and things like that. So if a client comes to us and they live in California, then of course I would refer an interior designer there, because we do not do interiors. So it works out good for everyone, because normally most interior designers that come to us are coming to us for cabinetry. But if they're just a regular person that's coming in that just needs a kitchen and they don't have a big budget for an interior designer, then we would do that in-house.
Okay, understood. And then talk to me a little bit about that relationship with the kitchen designer like yourselves and the interior designer, and not necessarily at the Lauren and the Zoe and the Sarah level, like, for the listeners of the show, high-end luxury designers, but not 175,000 followers on Instagram and not writing the ticket and not having been on TV shows, but talented. So there's a dance there, right? Because we've had designers. Now you've told me that you listen to the show, Tanya. So we've had conversations with Brad Levitt from AFT Construction and Denise Winokur, who is a designer who also has, I'm going to call it her GC license, but I don't think I'm right about that. There's some license that she has in there. But the both of these come to mind because they both have talked about the different legs on the stool, where you've got the architect, the designer, and the builder all working together. But often there's this fourth leg, which is the kitchen and bath designer. And how do you find that relationship working? So here's how I want you to answer it. Your showroom is existing. A retail consumer comes in. They want to do a home. They want you to do their kitchen and bath design, and they do have their own interior designer. How does that relationship work? Do you drive it? Do you say, hey, get your designer in here, let's collaborate together? Do you design in a box and say, well, I guess it'll match what your interior designer is doing because you didn't bring her in? How does that work?
So normally what we do is we ask for the floor plans from the builder or the architect, and then we start the floor plan process first with placement and where the homeowner or the builder would like to place things. From there, we do tune in with the interior designer. Sometimes there's no interior designer. So at that point, we meet with the homeowners and we design the spaces. We pick out their lighting, their faucets, their fixtures, their countertops. we do not need an interior designer all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say 60% of our kitchens are not with interior designers.
Mm-hmm.
They are done in-house with builders and architects. So yeah, that's how it works. Usually we work with the architect and the builder, and then we create the floor plan from there, and then we bring in the homeowners. A lot of times, I mean, homeowners today are very savvy. They have an Instagram page. They have, for example, they have, their Pinterest page, and they have all these different things where they've saved up for years to create this, beautiful kitchen. And it's very easy to work with them directly to create the beautiful product.
Okay. And I can understand that, but I guess where I'm getting at is when there is a designer involved and you know it, but you're not the one that made the recommendation. Somebody comes in, they say, I have a designer, but I'm here to do my kitchen and bath design. Interested in you doing that project. Do you need to reach out, or do you ask for the introduction so that you're designing a kitchen and bath that's within the overall vision of the home? Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out.
We always work with interior designers all over, whether it doesn't have to, I mean, these lines are great for, promotional purposes, and these designers are great to work with, but we work with a lot of just decorators or, part-time moms that do designs on the side. And we always make sure that we bring them in for color selections and floor plans, and we work directly with them.
Right. That's what I was, I had a conversation recently with a designer who is a kitchen and bath specialist, and there's an opportunity for a very involved multi-unit multi-home project with a larger company, and they've got the designer and they're considering this firm for their kitchen and bath design. And it's, it's not one house, it's 10, 20, 30 homes. And my question was, well, who's leading this? Like, if you're going to design the kitchen and baths, are you doing it in a vacuum? You don't know what the rest of the theme, because they're vacation homes, like the rest of the theme is for the home, and how is that working? And it was and the response from the principal was, no, I need to understand that as well. But I just was like, because from the standpoint of efficiency, my thing is if you don't ask the question as the kitchen and bath designer, and then you spend 10, 20, 30, 40 hours designing the kitchen and baths, if the client isn't saying anything, and then all of a sudden the actual designer who's involved for overseeing the whole house comes back and says, what are you doing with all that Mediterranean stuff? We're doing mid-century. And of course that's a glaring thing that would never happen. But color, nuance, and all the things.
Oh yeah, it's very
important. You're going to start over again, right? So you do have to reach out and have that collaboration, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Are there best practices that you could think of as you guys, as the kitchen and bath specialists, that when you are brought in or you bring in, however the relationship starts, to work together, that you would say, builders are like your husband. He had a list of things that he likes and doesn't like that designers do. So are there 2 or 3 things that you could give your colleagues tips on as interior designers to be effective in working with kitchen and bath designers when you're both on the same project?
Yes, I do. We actually have a questionnaire sheet that we send to our builders and our designers, asking the clients how they live, what kind of appliances they like. Do they use an air fryer? Do they use a microwave? That's important in designing. And we feel like the more information you gather from your client of how they live, all the way down to a client recently said, I need a drawer big enough for all of our kids' water bottles. Like,
right.
It's just like little things like that. Where can I put their lunch bags? I think the more that an interior designer asks their client of the way that they live now, instead of trying to make a kitchen and design a kitchen to how you want them to live, it's never going to work. Mm-hmm. So I always tell designers, they're like, well, I don't want to have any wall cabinets, which I'm notorious for not doing wall cabinets in my design. I try to make it form and function in my base cabinets, but you have to ask them a lot of questions, and the more questions the better, and mainly like just how they live, the things they use every day, what type of dishes they have, what type of coffee pot they use. All those things are important before you even come to the kitchen designer, so that they know how to place storage for all of those areas.
That's great advice. It's actually great advice both ways. If someone listening is a kitchen and bath designer, is to get all of that information before you burn your time designing and finding out that they have 4 kids, and that means they have 24 water bottles. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. My one daughter, it's one cabinet, it's water bottles, and I'm like, wow.
No,
Right?
that's a big thing now. That's why I used it. They're like,
Yeah.
I need water bottles, or where am I going to put their lunch bags at, or just different
Mm-hmm.
things. When you have recycle, and our trash cans now, we have a trash can, we have recycle, and we have a compost. So
Mm.
all those different things are important to ask your clients, how many sets of dishes do they have? Do they do seasonal dishes? Like, it's a lot involved in a kitchen. People are like, oh, anyone can design a kitchen. No, it's very tedious. And if you're doing a kitchen and it's a small kitchen, like, you have to know where everything's going to go.
Mm-hmm. 100%. 100%. You got to know where you want to be so that you can get there, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so interesting. And then one of the things that you also wrote in your email to me was that COVID impacted the way kitchens and bathrooms are designed. And so I don't normally get into the design part of it, but that just I was like, I could understand. I knew that COVID impacted and amped up the number of people that invested in their kitchens and bathrooms, because now all of a sudden they were in them every single day of the week and not showering at the gym and not, eating out 3 nights a week and all of that. However, how did it impact the design, Tanya?
In the design for kitchens, a lot of things, the kitchens, the open concept was a really big thing about 3 or 4 years ago. And then when COVID hit, people realized that we need to put walls back up.
Mm.
A lot of times they had the living room and dining rooms, wide open. And then we were adding the walls back so that, the husband can work out of the kitchen and the wife can work out of the dining room. We take a lot of kitchens that were these large islands and put 2 islands in. It changed things tremendously because I think people realized in the morning when they were getting up and just like, making their coffee and making their lunches and leaving, it was just a prep area. But when they were actually living there and they needed all this extra space, when they were prepping dinner on one island and the kids were doing the homework at the other island, that, yeah, the design, everything changed, and it changed a lot.
It's a valid point. I can think back to, when I had the kids and I used to cook. I don't do it anymore, God forbid. But, it's exactly that. It's either we're using this island for food prep, or you're all hanging out with your books and well, now it would be with your iPads and stuff, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a valid point, and also the privacy and so forth like that. Interesting. So, yeah, it's funny because I had thought about it in the sense of knowing that we now took the great room and we carved out an office and things like that. But you're right, the kitchen also has a different, it's to be lived in as opposed to just passing through.
Exactly. It changed a
Interesting.
lot. It really did. People had the islands that had all the stools on it, they were just going from that to 2 prep islands to now let's add a table to our kitchen. Let's put the wall back up. Let's put doors in. Before we had all these open doorways, we started adding doors, pocket doors, just to create the quietness because everyone had to use a room.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Now, you got one other thing coming up on the horizon. I can't even imagine it, right? So it says that you'll be launching Bright, a live video platform that received 15 million in funding last year, and you'll be teaching classes as a top creator. Talk to me about this now.
Okay, so we did our first one on Wednesday. How it works is once a month we will have a segment. The last one was talking about our UKB team. And then our next segment is going to talk about countertops. And it's great. What we do is we go over the selections, the materials out there, what is best for the homes, how to maintain them. And then we allow customers to come on and ask any questions. The tickets are $30. They can ask any questions they want for an hour about their own kitchen project. How to start a kitchen project, what type of materials to use, just anything they want about kitchens.
And so, what does this mean? It's a live video platform. Is it, you know?
So it's a YouTube platform.
Okay.
And what happens is they record it live. You buy your ticket, you come on, you sit through the show. It's a lot of fun. You can do it over dinner, wine, and everyone pops up on the screen and everyone talks together. They get to meet each other. We will have like surprise celebrity clients on there in between. We never know who's going to be on there. So if you want to ask if Lauren Lisa is going to be on there, if Zoe's going to be on there, they can ask questions to their designers at that time. Or if it's just us, they can ask in-house questions. And then after it's done, it's recorded so that you can go back. For example, if I teach you how to measure your countertops or, how to buy your appliances or things like that, it's recorded and then it's available on YouTube at all times so they can go back and watch the segment. It's a
Wow.
great idea.
Wow. And so, I mean, you got 15 million in funding. Is that because you just don't start a Bright platform like you could just start a YouTube, video? Like, does it
Well,
require that?
It did because they have a lot of celebrity designers on there, and they also have Ashton Kutcher is one of the owners. So I think it was more of a brand building thing, and that's why they got all the funding to do it. But it's a great platform in the fact that if people if they're driving and they want to just ask these questions and they can't write everything down during the call, they can ask all these questions and it's recorded, and then they can go back and watch the segment. I think that people live such a fast-paced life now that I think they're finding that Netflix and, HGTV and all those shows are great if you have time to sit down and watch them. But I think being on the go today and having something that people can call into no matter where they are, and a segment is recorded, kind of like, recording a podcast or listening to a podcast, people will listen to it over and over and over. So when they came to me to do the show with them, I liked the fact that people could ask questions from all over the world, and ask anything they wanted about their kitchen or anything as far as the house and cabinetry, and always refer back to it when they are doing the build out process. Like, oh my gosh, what did she say to use on the countertops? I'm out countertop shopping. Or what tile did she say was a good tile? It's a lot. And I think that's the platform is great. They have cooking shows on there. They have comedian things on there. There's just so many different platforms, how to promote a better life, wellness, yoga, everything is on this platform.
Wow.
And it just allows people to go back and, watch it over and over if needed.
So, and just to be clear, I misunderstood. I thought you raised $15 million and you launched this.
Oh, no, that wasn't me. Ashton Kutcher did that, actually.
As you were describing, I was like, oh, that's the faith I have in you at this point, Tanya. Like, you understand that.
You.
Like, I read that and I was like, of course she did. Okay. So is this platform Bright? Is it, like you said, they invited you to have this television show? Is it an invite only at this point? Like HGTV has to invite you and you have to, do a pilot, and you get, if I had a nickel for every designer that did a pilot that doesn't have a show, I don't know if it's good or bad. My heart breaks and my heart sings for every person who has an opportunity. But is it like that, or is it like?
Well, actually, you can go on there and register if you'd like to be involved on the Bright, and then they interview you, and it is a process. I think they're trying to keep it more,
selective.
Selective right now at this time. It's kind of like The Expert out there that's with Jake Arnold. The Experts, it's a fantastic, it's a great platform, but it is a process you have to go through, but it's a great platform.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. We'll have to look into it. That sounds very cool. And your first episode, or whatever are they calling them episodes? Or are they calling
they are
okay, your first episode that we're recording, you did it yesterday, so by the time you go live in 3 weeks or a month, we can go see it on a YouTube channel?
Absolutely.
And do we go to Bright to see it? Do we go to YouTube to see it? Do we Google your name? What do we do?
You can Google my name, or you can go to Bright Live and put in my name, and then all of my sessions will come up.
Love it. Okay, we'll put that links in the show notes for that. So, honestly, I could keep you for hours because I know there's other things that we can talk about, but I'm just super happy that we got a chance to meet each other, and just very impressed at the way your mind works, at the way you see the chess game of business, and the way that you are really, just using the creativity in your mind to put to work at the business side of it, and figure out the way relationships are win-wins and all the things. Wow, I'm so super impressed, Tanya. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll have to, run into each other in the real world out there, I think. Okay?
We definitely will. Thank you so much, and have a great day. And thank you for having me on your show.
First of all, I think we can all agree that Tanya is without a doubt one heck of a #smart lady, right? This kind of growth doesn't happen by accident. She has definitely created a well-designed business. When she told me that she sprung this on her husband while he was on a camping trip, I was a little surprised. I've been pretty nervy over the years, but I don't think I would have done something like that. But boy, oh boy, it paid off, didn't it? So let's pick apart a few pieces of the conversation with Tanya. Did you notice how well thought out every aspect of her business is? The showrooms featuring designers, the way projects with lower budgets are handled in-house, the use of collaborations essentially as marketing and networking. These are the types of business-savvy decisions that make me know that Tanya will always be successful in whatever she puts her mind to. When she launched her business, she had a leg up. She had experience with her husband's work as a builder. So this gave her connections to architects and designers and builders, and they played a role in her success for sure. But that wasn't the only thing that made her business thrive. The willingness to think outside the box, to call up designers like LuAnn and just say, hey, I should be the one to do your cabinets, right? Can you believe that Tanya hardly even knew who LuAnn was, but she just called her out of the blue? That's determination right there. Being creative about finding opportunities and having the courage to put yourself out there, to take chances. Those moves don't always pay off. That's why it takes courage, because you will have rejections. But when they do pay off, it's worth it. The piece of advice that I can give you here is be curious and be a little somewhat philosophical. And what I mean by that is when you know it is an out-of-the-box move, because of that, precisely because of that, also know it may or may not work. So what's the difference, right? Try it. If you take 4 shots, 10 shots, 20 shots at an idea, if 1, 3, or 8 pay off, that's great. Heck, actually, that's outstanding. What you have to do is focus on the yeses and not the nos. Now, I've told you before my outlook on cold selling. I've always, from the time I was cold selling for WindowWorks in 1982, I would always say, I have to ask 25 times to get a yes. I have to put myself out there 25 times to get one yes. So are you in a puddle of mud of the 24 no's? No, that's the whole thing. It's a cold sell. So her calling out to LuAnn, it worked, but it might not have. Maybe she would have called somebody else and there would have been 3 no's, and then the 4th phone call could have been to LuAnn and would have been a yes. Right? She got lucky. I'm sure she's had other things that she's done where it didn't work on the first one. The idea, the lesson, the takeaway is when you're thinking out of the box, think about it as an experiment, as something else happening. It's not attached to you personally. A no or a no, not right now, is not a rejection of us. It's simply the time and the idea are not a fit for the other person, right? And I think sometimes we all have that voice inside our head that tells us people are too busy, or we shouldn't bother them, or they're never going to like my idea. But when we talk ourselves out of reaching out for the collaborations or even for advice or mentorship, we miss out on huge opportunities. Remember episode number 758 with Sally Lord. She talked about her pod of designer colleagues that meet regularly and support each other. She spoke about how everybody has something to offer and that you have to be confident that you are bringing something of value to the table, because everybody does have something to offer. One day you're the one that helps, the next day somebody helps you. This is how it goes, right? Which, of course, as I always say, the confidence comes when you have done the work and you've got the chops to back it up. So that's important too. That comes with your experience. And that's what Tanya had. She had the chops to back it up when she reached out. Now, in addition to her actual expertise, Tanya leans into ensuring quality craftsmanship. This was a huge focus for her in the business from the very beginning. She knew that quality mattered. She knew that she wouldn't cut corners when it came to craftsmanship. So that falls into the know what you will do and what you will not do category, right? And finally, another takeaway that I want you to take to heart is that Tanya did this all in her 50s. I started this podcast in my 50s. We have had so many designers come on and tell us that they've done the same thing, coming into interior design as a second career later in life. And you know what? It sounds like that Tanya has a little bit more energy than most people, even half her age. Something I kind of relate to, right? But whatever it is, you do you. If you have the idea, the passion, the itch, go for it. You'll be glad you did. Thank you, Tanya, so much for this fun conversation. I appreciate you very much. And thank you for joining me today. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.